Welcome to today's transformation dive, right here on Earn Flow Zone. Have you ever noticed how checking your bank balance can feel less like a simple transaction and more like preparing for a colonoscopy? Yeah, not exactly something you look forward to. We're talking about that deep-seated, slightly embarrassing truth. Many of us treat our finances like a fridge we're terrified to open, because we suspect something questionable is growing in there. We know it needs dealing with, but the fear of the stink, or in this case, the fear of the numbers, keeps the door firmly shut. It's easier to just assume everything is fine, right? Or at least not catastrophically bad. This resistance isn't about being inherently irresponsible. It's about a psychological barrier that keeps us from seeing the reality of our money. It's the financial equivalent of wanting to get in shape, but avoiding the scale or the first difficult workout. You want the result, but you shrink from the uncomfortable truth of the starting point. But here's the thing: ignoring the map doesn't make the journey any shorter or less challenging. In fact, it almost guarantees you'll get lost. So if you're ready to stop navigating blindfolded and finally take the wheel of your financial life, you're in the right place. This isn't just about budgeting or investing. It's about mastering the mindset that makes financial growth possible. It's about shifting from avoidance to action, from fear to flow. If you're into real, actionable money and mindset content that actually helps you move forward, hit like and subscribe. It helps way more than you think in getting these messages out. And while you're at it, drop a comment with where you're watching from or your biggest money habit win, no matter how small. I love hearing your stories. Okay, enough intro. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. Section 1. Facing the financial mirror. So you open your banking app and you flinch. There it is. That familiar knot in your stomach. It's been days, maybe weeks, possibly even months, since you took a genuine, unflinching look at your finances. You know the feeling. It's the same low-grade dread you get before a difficult conversation you've been postponing, checking out a weird symptom you hope isn't serious, or stepping onto the scale after a holiday feast where you decided calories simply cease to exist for a week. It's the fear of the unknown, amplified by the deeper fear of the known reality you've been actively choosing to ignore. Instead of confronting the numbers, you scroll mindlessly through Instagram Reels, binge-watch another series, or suddenly find a dozen urgent tasks around the house that simply must be done right now. Anything, absolutely anything, to avoid the simple, terrifying act of confronting the digits that define your current financial standing. This isn't just about being bad with money or lazy. It's profoundly psychological. Your brain, in its primitive, well-meaning way, is actually trying to protect you from perceived pain. What pain? The potential pain of seeing a balance lower than you'd hoped, a credit card debt total higher than you imagined, or simply the messy, inconvenient reality of where your money is actually going versus where you think it is. Your brain whispers insidious lies. You can't handle this. It's too late to fix it. Knowing the truth will only make you feel worse and stress you out more. So you keep the curtain drawn, hoping that the financial monsters lurking in the dark, the overdraft fees, the compounding interest, the missed savings opportunities, will just magically disappear. Spoiler alert, they are terrible house guests, and they absolutely do not disappear. In fact, they tend to grow larger, stronger, and much uglier in the darkness of your willful ignorance. You might tell yourself, "Oh, I have a general idea of where things stand," but a general idea is a luxurious fantasy, a comfort blanket for someone who isn't actively directing their financial future. It's like saying you have a general idea of how to run a marathon without ever looking at a training plan or tracking your miles. You might eventually get there, but it's going to be inefficient, painful, and likely much longer than it needs to be. Here's a core concept: real control over your money, and indeed, real financial growth, starts with clear sight. You cannot navigate a ship across an ocean by only looking at the sky. You need to see the waves, the rocks, the direction, and where you are right now. Facing the financial mirror is the absolute first, non-negotiable step. It's the moment you decide to stop hiding from the truth and start preparing to deal with it. And here's a surprising fact that busts a common myth. The act of simply looking at your numbers, even if they're bad, often reduces financial anxiety in the long run, rather than increasing it. Why? Because uncertainty is almost always more stressful than a known challenge. When you know what you're dealing with, your brain can shift from panic mode to problem-solving mode. The cause-effect is clear. Ignorance breeds anxiety and inaction. Knowledge, while initially uncomfortable, breeds clarity and empowers action. It's the fundamental shift from being a passive passenger on your financial journey to becoming the pilot. So, here's a prompt for reflection and action. Try this for a week. Make it a non-negotiable habit to open your primary banking app daily. Just open it. Look at the main balance. Don't analyze. Don't judge. Just look. Maybe scroll through a few recent transactions. Set a timer for 60 seconds if you need to keep it brief initially. The goal isn't to fix everything overnight, but to simply build the habit of exposure, to desensitize yourself to the act of looking. This one habit, consistently applied, changed everything for me. It stripped away the power of the unknown and replaced it with simple, manageable facts. It turned the scary monster in the closet into just furniture I needed to rearrange. In the Section 2, Section 3, after concluding the main narrative sections, e.g., Section 6. All right, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the initial flinch of facing the numbers to understanding how to start taking actionable steps towards building the financial life you want. As we wind down, I want to slow the pace a little and really let the core message sink in. If there's one big takeaway from everything we've discussed, especially that crucial first step of facing the financial mirror, it's this: transparency is your superpower. It's not the market. It's not some secret investment strategy you don't know about. And it's certainly not magical luck. It's the conscious decision to see things as they are, even when it's uncomfortable. The long-term benefit of cultivating this practice, this bravery in the face of your bank statement, is profound. It shifts your financial reality from something that happens to you into something that you actively create. Think about it. The anxiety you feel when avoiding your finances? That energy is being wasted on dread. When you confront the numbers, that energy is redirected into planning, adjusting, and building. It might start with a tiny step, like just opening that app for 60 seconds a day. But over time, that small act of discipline compounds into confidence, clarity, and control. You move from feeling like a victim of your circumstances to feeling like the architect of your future. That deeper insight we touched on earlier, about uncertainty being more stressful than a known challenge, is key not just to money, but to all areas of growth. Whether it's your health, your career, or your relationships, avoiding the truth, however messy, keeps you stuck in a state of passive anxiety. Embracing the truth, however daunting, unlocks the possibility of proactive change and genuine progress. It allows you to make informed decisions instead of fearful reactions. It's the difference between hoping things get better and making them better. So, as you go forward from here, remember that the journey to financial flow and personal growth begins with a single, often difficult step. Looking honestly at where you are. Be gentle with yourself. Acknowledge the psychological hurdle, but be firm in your commitment to overcome it. The clarity you gain is invaluable. The control you reclaim is life-changing. In the end, your bank account will catch up to your mindset, not the other way around. So, we're talking about changing the way you think about success. And maybe the first big hurdle isn't finding the perfect budget app or investment strategy. It's much simpler and much harder for some. It's just looking. You realize, for many of us, the idea of truly checking our finances triggers a cascade of emotions we'd rather just not feel. We instinctively avoid knowing, like dodging a phone call from a number you suspect is bad news. Why is this so common? The emotions tied to money run deep, often far deeper than we acknowledge. For many, checking finances triggers shame. Shame about past mistakes, that impulsive purchase you instantly regretted, the credit card debt you racked up that feels insurmountable, the investment opportunities you missed because you were too scared or didn't know where to start. There's guilt, a heavy weight, about not being further along than you think you should be by now. You look at others, or what you perceive of others online, and feel like you're failing. And underlying it all? Fear. Fear of judgment, both from yourself when you see the hard numbers, and potentially others, even if you never show a soul. This is where money gets dangerously tangled with self-worth. There's a pervasive, insidious myth. If your bank account is low, does that mean you are low? If you have debt, does that make you a failure as a person? These feelings are powerful, almost physical. They can create a barrier so strong, it feels easier to stay in a state of anxious ambiguity. To just not know, than face the potential confirmation of your worst fears. It's like avoiding stepping on the scale after a holiday binge. You know you should, but the potential number feels like a judgment. Though, let's be honest, sometimes that scale number is less scary than the credit card statement. Here's the core concept we need to grasp. The myth here is that your financial state is a reflection of your inherent value as a person. It's not. This is a crucial myth bust. Your financial situation is a snapshot of your financial history and habits, nothing more. These are things you absolutely can change. Your worth is not your net worth. Understanding that the fear is about identity, not just digits on a screen, is the first step to disarming it. Cause and effect here is clear. Believing the myth causes avoidance. Rejecting the myth causes the possibility of facing the numbers and taking action. You might remember the sinking feeling after buying something expensive you knew you shouldn't, and then actively avoiding checking your balance for days. Or maybe you have a stack of bills you just haven't opened because the anxiety is too much. That feeling, that immediate desire to look away or distract yourself, is your mind signaling the avoidance response. The insight here? This feeling isn't unique to you. It's a common human response to perceived threat or failure. But here's the reframe. That feeling is also your signal that it's time to gain control. It's the flashing light telling you this is the area demanding your attention. The action today is simple but profound. Acknowledge the specific feeling that makes you want to avoid looking at your money. Write it down. Shame? Fear? Guilt? Just name it. Putting a name to it takes some of its power away. The high cost of hiding. You know that feeling? That knot in your stomach when you see an envelope with a company logo you know means a bill. Or maybe it's the banking app notification you swipe away a little too quickly without checking the balance. We all do it sometimes. We hide. We bury our heads in the sand, hoping that if we don't look at the problem, it somehow won't exist. It feels, in the moment, like you're protecting yourself from stress, right? Like putting off the inevitable pain. But here's the stark reality, and frankly, it's a bit brutal. While you're avoiding, reality isn't taking a break. Your bills still arrive, sitting there, patiently waiting. Interest? Oh, it's having a field day, merrily accruing every single second. Fees? They're piling up quietly in the background, multiplying like financial rabbits. And opportunities? They're passing you by because you're operating in the dark, making financial decisions based on guesswork or outdated information, not knowing what's truly possible or what hole you might be digging. Think about it. You might overdraft your account because you weren't brave enough to check your actual balance before that last purchase. Suddenly, there's a $35 or $50 fee just for not knowing what you had. You might miss a payment deadline because you didn't open the bill or forgot when it was due, leading to late fees and potentially hitting your credit score. You might be continuously paying for a subscription you totally forgot about, or one you don't even need anymore, simply because you haven't reviewed your bank statements in months. We laugh about this sometimes, like, oops, still paying for that streaming service from 2 years ago? But honestly, it's not just inconvenient, it's incredibly expensive. This isn't a static cost, it's actively growing. It's like ignoring a small leak under the sink. You might avoid the immediate hassle of fixing it, but the water damage is slowly spreading, costing you way more in the long run than the initial repair would have. Those small fees, the overdraft, the late fee, the forgotten subscription charge, on their own, they seem minor. Maybe just $20 here, $35 there. Who cares, right? But compounded over time, they represent a significant loss, money you could have saved, invested, or used for something you actually value. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts for your bank account. Hiding your head in the sand doesn't make the tide stop coming in. It just ensures you drown when it finally arrives. Consider the person who avoids checking their credit card balance because just the thought of the number is too scary. They know they have debt, but they don't want to know exactly how much. So they keep spending, maybe adding small amounts, maybe just treading water, but they aren't confronting the core issue. Meanwhile, high interest is silently, relentlessly adding to that total every single day, 24/7. That initial fear of looking at, say, $5,000 in debt, which feels overwhelming, allows it to silently balloon into $6,000, then $7,000, purely through interest charges they weren't confronting. The surprising insight here, the one that hits hard, is that avoidance isn't saving you from stress. It's guaranteeing more stress down the line. Stress compounded by a significantly higher price tag. The monster under the bed is only scary because you haven't looked. Often, once you flip on the light, you realize it's just a pile of clothes. Maybe still intimidating, but nowhere near as bad as your imagination made it. And crucially, it's something you can actually deal with. The cost of avoiding that initial look is far greater than the discomfort of the glance itself. So, here's the action I want you to take right now. This isn't about fixing everything. It's just about shining a light on one tiny corner. Think about one specific financial cost you paid in the last month that you might have avoided if you had been actively tracking, checking your money, or simply opening that envelope. Was it an overdraft fee because you guessed your balance? A late fee because you didn't open the bill? A forgotten subscription charge that showed up on your statement? Just identify it. Don't judge it. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just acknowledge its existence and link it directly to the act of avoidance. This one habit changed everything for me, starting small. Okay, time to bust a myth that keeps too many people stuck right at the starting line, never truly moving forward. Let's call it the not knowing protects you myth. It's the quiet lie you tell yourself, maybe not even consciously, that says, if I don't look, I don't have to deal with it. If I don't know the bad news, it can't hurt me. Right now, let's just demolish that idea. Ignorance about your money, about your financial situation, does not protect you. Not one little bit. What it actually does is make you incredibly vulnerable. It strips away your power to change things. It's like trying to navigate a financial minefield blindfolded, whistling a happy tune, and just hoping you don't step on something explosive. You're relying entirely on luck, and let me tell you, relying on luck is about as effective a financial strategy as trying to catch a greased watermelon in a swimming pool. Entertaining maybe, but not reliable for long-term success. You simply cannot manage what you do not measure. It's a fundamental truth in finance, business, health, everything. And you absolutely cannot change what you refuse to see. Now, I know why people fall into this trap. It's the dread, isn't it? The fear of the messy middle, the difficult truth, the lower than hoped for number staring back at you from a screen or a statement. You see that unopened envelope or that app icon, and a wave of anxiety washes over you. It feels easier, safer, to just not look, to postpone the potential bad news. But that messy middle, that seemingly ugly truth, that isn't your final destination. It's just your starting line. Not seeing it doesn't erase the starting line. It just means you have no earthly idea where you are relative to any finish line, or even which direction the finish line is in. You're just adrift. Thinking avoiding your statements makes the numbers disappear? That's like thinking if you don't look in the mirror after lunch, that piece of spinach isn't stuck in your teeth. Spoiler alert, it's still there, and people will notice. Or in finance, the consequences will build up. People avoid looking because they anticipate negative emotions: shame, regret, disappointment, fear. And yes, those emotions are real, and they can be intense. But here's the crucial, surprising insight. Those emotions are temporary. They are a fleeting discomfort. The consequences of inaction due to that ignorance, however, are long-term and cumulative. They compound. They get worse, more expensive, and harder to fix over time. Think about your car. What happens when the check engine light comes on? Ignoring it might make the anxiety go away for a bit, right? You don't have to face the potential repair bill. But the underlying problem is still there, likely quietly getting worse and more expensive to fix down the road. Your finances are exactly the same. That check engine light in your financial life is the feeling of dread, the pile of unopened mail, the avoided banking app. Ignoring it provides short-term emotional relief at the cost of long-term financial pain. The discomfort of looking, of facing the numbers, is short-term pain for massive long-term gain. Control, peace of mind, and real progress. Ignorance isn't bliss. Ignorance is perpetually stressed. It's the oops, I thought I had more surprise, except it's not a fun birthday gift. The reframe here is powerful. Looking isn't admitting defeat. It's the absolute first, most necessary step towards taking back your power and moving towards victory. It's not about judgment. It's about information. It's about giving yourself the map. So here's your actionable step right now, and this is crucial. Take a deep breath. Really. Now, make a mental commitment. Within the next hour, you are going to commit to opening your primary financial account. Maybe it's your bank account, your main credit card statement, or a debt statement. Just the commitment to look is the first hurdle. You don't have to dive into a full analysis yet if you're not ready, but make the commitment to do it. Set a reminder on your phone if you need to. That commitment is the first step out of the dark. Welcome to today's Transformation Dive, right here at Earn Flow Zone. Ever felt like your bank account balance was less like a number and more like a judge, jury, and executioner? You know, that feeling where you just know things aren't where you want them to be, but looking feels like confirming your worst fears? It's like trying to avoid reading the instruction manual after you've already put the shelf on backward. You really don't want to see how wrong you were, but you can't fix it until you do. We've all been there. That knot in your stomach when the billing cycle email arrives, or that little jump scare when you accidentally open your banking app. It's wild how a few digits on a screen can hold so much power over our peace of mind. But what if I told you that the very thing you're avoiding holds the key to unlocking your financial freedom? What if the path to growth isn't through complicated spreadsheets or aggressive saving tactics yet, but through something much simpler, much more fundamental? This journey isn't about quick fixes or overnight millions. It's about building a foundation, shifting your perspective, and taking back control, one deliberate action at a time. We're going to tackle some tough truths, bust some common money myths, and equip you with the mindset and simple habits that actually move the needle. If you're ready to ditch the financial anxiety and step into a zone where you're the one calling the shots, where earning and flowing feel less like a struggle and more like a natural state, then you are absolutely in the right place. This community is all about real talk, practical steps, and celebrating every win, big or small. So if you're into real, actionable money and mindset content, hit like and subscribe. It helps way more than you think, spreading these powerful ideas to others who need them. And hey, I love hearing from you. Drop a comment with where you're watching from or your biggest money habit win, past or present. Let's connect and build this movement together. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or perhaps the phantom monster under the bed. It's big, it's scary, and it grows stronger the less you look at it. Your finances. Specifically, the current state of your finances. For many people, this feels like the ultimate forbidden zone. You know you should check your bank balance, open that credit card statement, or tally up those debts, but the fear paralyzes you. You tell yourself you'll do it later, when you have more time, or when things are better. But later never comes, and better remains a distant, hazy hope. This brings us to perhaps the single most powerful yet often overlooked action you can take today to begin seizing control. Just look. That's it. The first step is simply looking. This is where courage meets cold, hard data. It's not about judgment. It's about observation. Open the app. Open the envelope. Log in online. Whatever it is, do it. Right now. It's not about creating a budget yet. It's not about making a plan. It's not about fixing anything. It is purely about gathering information. Think of yourself as a scientist, calmly observing data points. This number is not good or bad, it just is. This balance is not a moral judgment about your worth. It is a fact about your financial position. People often underestimate the sheer power of facing reality. By simply looking, you are taking away the monster's power. You are turning on the light in the dark room. What you see might sting, maybe even quite a bit, but trust me, that temporary sting will sting far less than the continued, creeping anxiety and the very real, escalating costs of avoidance. Think late fees, missed opportunities, and lost sleep. This act of looking, however small it seems, is an act of immense personal power. You are choosing reality over the debilitating fog of fear. You are choosing agency over passive avoidance. You are choosing to be the pilot of your financial life, not just a passenger being tossed about by the waves. It's like finally cleaning out that junk drawer that's been overflowing for months. It's messy for a minute, but the relief and clarity afterward are immense. Remember the analogy of stepping on the scale after avoiding it for months. The number might be higher than you like, maybe even shock you a little, but seeing it is the only way to know where you are and, crucially, to start making changes. You can't create a plan to lose weight if you don't know your starting weight. You can't tackle debt effectively if you don't know the total amount across all accounts and who you owe. The surprising insight here, the myth bust if you will, is that the act of looking itself breaks the inertia of fear. It's the hardest step emotionally, but once taken, the next steps, understanding, planning, acting, become not only possible, but feel significantly less daunting. The powerful reframe. Looking is not the consequence of failure or proof you messed up. It is the absolute prerequisite for success, for growth, for change. It is the foundation, your clear personal action right now as we speak. Open your primary bank account app or login screen. Look at the main balance number for 30 seconds. Just look. Let the number be what it is. Breathe. You did it. That's the first victory. We've walked through the vital first step, the courage to just look. And that step, that simple act of facing the numbers, however uncomfortable, shifts the entire dynamic. It moves you from being a passive worrier to an active participant in your financial story. Remember, every single financial plan, every budget, every debt payoff strategy, every investment journey, it all starts with knowing where you are. Without that clear picture, you're trying to navigate in the dark. The real long-term benefit here isn't just better numbers in your account, though that's a great outcome. It's the profound sense of control and agency you regain. It's the calm that replaces the constant hum of anxiety. It's knowing that even if things aren't perfect, you are steering the ship. This simple habit of regular financial check-ins, starting with that first brave look, builds a muscle of financial responsibility and mindfulness that pays dividends far beyond dollars and cents. It impacts your confidence, your relationships. Money stress is a huge factor there, and your ability to plan for the future you actually want. Here's a deeper insight about money and growth. Your financial situation is rarely the primary problem. It's usually a symptom of habits, beliefs, fears, and mindsets. By addressing the avoidance, by building the discipline of simply looking, you're not just changing your financial habits, you're changing your relationship with reality itself. You are proving to yourself that you are capable, that you are strong enough to face challenges, and that you are committed to your own well-being. That internal shift is the true engine of lasting financial and personal growth. In the end, your bank account will catch up to your mindset, not the other way around. Section 6. What you see and it's okay. So you took the plunge. You looked. What did you see? For some, maybe it was a number that felt like a gut punch, worse than you ever imagined. For others, maybe it was surprisingly less terrible than the monster in your head. Or perhaps most commonly, you just saw a mess, a chaotic jumble of transactions, unclear subscriptions, balances that didn't make immediate sense, and debt totals that felt overwhelming. Whatever picture emerged, whether it was a pristine landscape or, let's be honest, looked like a toddler organized your finances, the absolute most crucial step you took in that moment wasn't the seeing itself, but the acknowledging without immediate judgment. And truly, it is okay. Let's be crystal clear. The goal of this initial reconnaissance wasn't to trigger a spiral of self-recrimination, doubt, or despair. It wasn't an exercise designed to make you feel guilty about every impulse buy or past decision. No, the singular, powerful purpose was simply to establish a baseline. This number, this collection of transactions, this debt total, this is nothing more, nothing less than your financial reality at this moment. It is a snapshot in time, captured the instant you dared to look. It is not a final destination. It does not define your future unless you actively choose to let it. Think about it. Everyone, absolutely everyone you admire who has achieved financial success, security, or freedom started from somewhere. Many of them started from negative net worth, significant student loan or credit card debt, or just plain broke with big dreams and empty pockets. The defining difference between those who stagnate and those who rise wasn't their starting point. It was their willingness to honestly see that starting point and then, critically, act based on that reality. By simply looking, you have officially placed yourself in that category of people who are willing to see. That single act puts you leagues ahead of those who are still hiding, pretending, or living in deliberate financial ignorance. That avoidance isn't protection. It's simply delaying the inevitable, and often making the hole deeper. Consider an athlete training for a marathon, as we mentioned before. On their very first day of training, they don't lace up and run 26.2 miles. That would be absurd and likely result in injury and instant demotivation. Their first run might be a slow mile, maybe even less. If that athlete judged themselves harshly for not running a marathon on day one, saying, "I'm terrible, I'll never get there, what's the point?" they'd quit before they even started. Instead, they see that first run, no matter how short or slow, as their starting point, their baseline. It's simply data. They log it, acknowledge it without judgment, and build from there, adding a little distance, a little speed, day after day. Your financial baseline is exactly the same. It's not a judgment, it's just data points marking where you are today. Here's the truly surprising insight, and it's a powerful reframing. The worst number you could possibly see is actually, in a strange and counterintuitive way, a gift. It's clarity, and clarity is the most potent, most essential foundation for all financial progress. Without knowing exactly where you stand, Whether that's a healthy balance, zero, or deep in the red, you're just guessing. You're throwing darts in the dark, hoping to hit a target you can't even see. Seeing a difficult number isn't a setback. It is the enabling condition for your comeback. It's the fuel for change because you finally know the magnitude of the journey ahead, and you can start planning the route. It removes the fear of the unknown because the unknown is now known. This one perspective shift, seeing clarity as a gift, not a punishment, changed everything for me when I faced my own financial baseline years ago. So, now for the action. Based on what you saw, if you saw a specific number, like a total balance or a debt total, try this action right now. Write that number down. Get a sticky note, open a note on your phone, or grab a piece of paper. Just the number. No emojis, no sad faces, no exclamation points. Just the data. If what you saw was primarily a messy list of transactions and no single number stood out, pick just one transaction from the last week that surprised you or you didn't remember making, and simply note what it was for. Again, no judgment, just data capture. This small act solidifies the baseline. You've seen it, acknowledged it, and recorded it. You are no longer hiding. You are ready to build. Okay, let's dive into Section 7, From Victim to Pilot. This section marks a profound, almost subtle shift in how you relate to your money. For many, personal finance feels like something that just happens to them. It's like being tossed around in the ocean without a boat or a compass. Bills seem to appear out of nowhere, even though, let's be honest, the electricity bill shows up every month like clockwork. Expenses pop up and sink your budget. Funny how that new gadget wasn't really unexpected, was it? And you feel constantly at the mercy of your circumstances. Money is tight because, well, that's just how it is, right? This is the essence of the victim mindset in finance. You feel powerless, reacting fearfully to every financial wave that crashes over you. The instinct is often avoidance. Don't look, don't check, maybe it will magically get better. It's like playing financial hide and seek, except you're hiding from the game. But there's a moment, a pivotal turn, that changes everything. It's the moment you choose to look. The simple, money is tight, because, well, that's just how it is, right? This is the essence of the victim mindset in finance. You feel powerless, reacting fearfully to every financial wave that crashes over you. Often uncomfortable, act of opening the banking app, reviewing the credit card statement, or, dare I say it, putting numbers into a spreadsheet. It feels scary, like peeking under the bed for monsters. But what you find isn't a monster. It's just information. And information is power. The instant you see where your money is actually going, you reclaim control. You stop being the passenger clinging to driftwood and become the pilot at the helm. Think about it. When you're avoiding, you're blindsided by the unexpected vet bill that you knew was coming. Or the fact that your dining out budget vanished by the 10th of the month. You feel victimized by your own spending. But when you look, truly look, you start to see the financial landscape clearly. You spot the storm clouds forming, that big insurance payment next month. You identify the leaks in the hull, those impulse buys that don't even bring lasting joy. And you see the favorable currents, the extra income opportunity, or the subscription you can finally cancel. You can't control the weather, the economy, sudden emergencies, but you can control how you steer your ship through it. You can plot a course. You can batten down the hatches. This shift from passive avoidance to active engagement is where the earn flow zone truly begins. It's not a magical place where money problems disappear. It's a state of being actively involved in managing, directing, and optimizing your financial resources instead of being tossed about by them. It's not about achieving perfect budgeting overnight. It's about being present and engaged with your money story. Consider someone who constantly feels broke. They might say, "Money is just tight. I'm a victim of circumstances." But if they just look, they might uncover something surprising. Maybe they're unconsciously spending $20 a week on coffees they don't even finish, or $150 a month on online impulse buys they forget about instantly. Simply seeing that spending doesn't fix it, but it fundamentally changes their state. They are no longer a victim of amorphous tightness. They are a pilot who sees a $150 leak and can decide to patch it. Here's the surprising truth. Awareness isn't about assigning blame. It's about granting empowerment. You don't look to shame yourself for past spending. You look to understand where you are so you can decide where you want to go. The simple act of having the information transforms your mental state from a passive recipient of whatever happens to an active manager with agency. You gain leverage the moment you acknowledge the reality. Try this for a week. Choose just one area of your finances that feels fuzzy or intimidating. Maybe you're spending on a specific category, or just checking your bank balance daily. Look at it. Really look. Don't judge. Just observe. Ask yourself, how does knowing even just that one number or seeing that single transaction make you feel slightly more in control, slightly more like the pilot than you did when you were avoiding it? The difference, subtle at first, is the starting point of your financial journey from being tossed by the waves to steering your own course. You know, we've talked about building foundations, about taking that first step. But before you can build or step effectively, you need to understand the material you're working with. And for many, money feels like this elusive, unpredictable beast, a monster in the closet of their lives. It causes anxiety, stress, maybe even shame. But what if I told you that seeing money this way is fundamentally wrong? What if money isn't a monster at all, but simply energy? Think about it. Money is a tool, a medium of exchange that represents value created, time invested, effort expended. Just like any form of energy, electricity, water, heat, it needs to flow. If you start seeing money not as something to be feared or hoarded out of scarcity, but as energy that moves, transforms, and facilitates, everything shifts. Suddenly, you're not battling a monster. You're learning to direct a force. Imagine your finances as the intricate plumbing system of your home. Your income is the water source coming in. Your expenses are the various pipes leading to different faucets and appliances. Savings are reservoirs or tanks. Investments are pumps or channels directing flow for future use. Now, if you avoid looking at your bank account or bills, it's like ignoring your entire plumbing system while complaining you don't have enough water pressure or are constantly dealing with drips and leaks. It sounds a little ridiculous when you put it that way, right? People often underestimate how much control they gain just by looking. If there are leaks you don't know about, unnoticed subscriptions, wasteful spending, fees piling up, the water pressure, your available funds, is low. You can't effectively direct the flow where you need it. But if you understand the system, see the flow, identify those leaks, tracing where the energy is going, and learn to control the valves, budgeting, conscious spending, you can direct that water energy precisely. You can nourish your financial garden, your goals, fill your reservoir, build substantial savings, or power your home, make smart investments. You don't fear water. You manage it. You use it to drink, clean, grow things, create power. Money is the same. It's neutral. It's your relationship with this energy, your understanding of its flow, and your ability to consciously direct it that dictates your financial health and capacity. The surprising insight here, the one that truly changed how I viewed wealth building, is that by actively removing the emotional charge, the fear, the guilt, the shame, and viewing money objectively, like managing any resource or form of energy, you unlock immense clarity and personal power. You stop reacting emotionally to numbers and start strategizing based on flow. This reframe reveals a critical truth. Many money problems aren't actually income problems at their core. Often, they are flow management problems. You could double your income, but if the leaks in your plumbing system are never fixed, that extra energy just flows away, leaving you with the same low pressure. This one habit changed everything for me, shifting from how do I get more money to how do I understand and manage the money I do have. Here's a simple, non-judgmental prompt for reflection and action, designed purely to trace the flow of energy. Try this today or tomorrow. Trace where the last $20 or use a small common spending amount for you, like $5 or $10 you spent actually went. Not judging if it was a good or bad purchase, but literally tracking the flow of that specific unit of energy from your account or wallet to its destination. What did it become? What value did it exchange for? This isn't about guilt. It's about gaining awareness of the energy's path. Okay, so you face the mirror. You've looked at your finances, maybe for the first time with real intention, or maybe you just took a peek behind the curtain. It could feel overwhelming. The urge to fix everything at once can hit you like a ton of bricks. You see where money is going, where it isn't going towards savings, and suddenly you want to implement a 12-step financial overhaul plan by tomorrow morning. But stop right there. That impulse, while well-intentioned, is the express train to Burnout City. Overhauling your entire financial life overnight is not only overwhelming, it's simply unsustainable for 99.9% of people. It's like deciding you're going to run a marathon tomorrow, just because you finished a 5K walk today. Great effort, but maybe dial it back just a touch. The real path to the earn flow zone, where your money moves intentionally towards your goals, isn't paved with grand sweeping gestures that exhaust you before you even start. No, it's paved with small, consistent actions. Think of it like building any muscle. You don't bench press 300 pounds on day one. You start with the bar, maybe even just body weight exercises. Since you've faced the mirror and seen the data, even just a glimpse, you now have the perfect map to take tiny, directed steps. These are not just actions, they are micro-victories. And these small wins are surprisingly powerful. They build momentum, proving to yourself that you can do this. And they reinforce the new, positive habit of engaging with your money rather than avoiding it. What's one tiny adjustment you can make based on what you saw? Just one. Can you set up an automatic transfer of a ridiculously small amount, maybe just $5, to a savings account you don't normally touch? Even $1 works. The amount isn't the point. The action is. Can you commit to packing lunch just one day this week instead of buying it? Can you find one recurring subscription you don't use? Maybe that streaming service you forgot about, or an app you downloaded once, and cancel it? These actions are not about becoming wealthy overnight. Let's be honest, canceling one $9.99 subscription won't make you a millionaire, unless you have about 100,000 of them, in which case, perhaps seek help. These actions are about practicing the skill of directing your financial energy towards your goals, however small they seem initially. Each small win strengthens your confidence, tells your brain, "Hey, I did that," and makes the next action seem not just possible, but easier. It's about building competence through tiny triumphs. Consider someone who desperately wants to start saving, but feels they have zero extra money. After looking at their spending, they notice they spend $5 a day, 5 days a week, on their fancy coffee habit. They decide, based on this insight, to cut out the coffee just 2 days a week. That saves them $10. Is $10 life-changing money? Probably not for most. But the act of consciously redirecting that $10, deciding not to spend it on coffee and instead moving it to savings or just keeping it in checking, knowing it's saved, that is where the magic happens. That builds the saving muscle. It's practicing delayed gratification on a small scale. And here's the surprising insight that often gets missed. Consistency in these small actions creates compounding results, and not just financially. Yes, the $10 a week adds up over time, but more importantly, these consistent small wins compound in building powerful habits and self-efficacy. You learn you have control. The reframe here is crucial. You don't need a lot of money to start building wealth or financial flow. You need to start directing the money you do have, however little it seems. Your action right now, based on your financial snapshot, or whatever small piece of spending you recently looked at, is to identify one single, tiny, actionable step you can take today to direct your money flow more intentionally. Seriously, just one thing. What is it? All right, let's dive into another crucial piece of the puzzle. Because while big financial moves get the headlines, you quickly realize the real progress, the lasting change, doesn't come from the occasional grand gesture. It comes from showing up, day after day. And that brings us to a principle we talk a lot about in the Earn Flow Zone. Consistency beats intensity. Think about it. People often underestimate the power of the mundane, the repetitive. We want the dramatic transformation, the overnight success story. But building genuine wealth, achieving lasting financial security, it's less like climbing Everest in one grueling push, and more like walking uphill consistently, day after day, taking small, steady steps. Checking your bank account in a panic once a year, around tax time? Yeah, you'll get a jolt, maybe a heart attack, but you won't get where you truly want to go. It's the equivalent of trying to get fit by doing one massive, soul-crushing workout every 6 months. It's painful, unsustainable, and largely ineffective for long-term health. The Earn Flow Zone isn't just about making more money. It's about being in a state of consistent, mindful engagement with your money. It's about making the ordinary act of paying attention your superpower. It's exactly like maintaining your physical health. It's profoundly better to eat reasonably well most days and exercise moderately several times a week than to gorge on junk food and then attempt a single, brutal workout or crash diet once a month. Consistency creates momentum, and it builds muscle, financial muscle. By looking regularly at your finances, even just for 5 minutes daily or 15 minutes weekly, you stay incredibly aware of the flow. Where is money coming from? Where is it going? This consistent observation is like having a constant, low-level diagnostic running on your financial life. You catch problems early. That subscription you forgot about, that unexpected fee. You spot opportunities early, an upcoming bonus you can allocate. A bill that was lower than expected. You make small adjustments constantly, like tweaking the steering wheel on a long drive, avoiding the need for painful drastic cuts or course corrections later on. Suddenly, you're not reacting in crisis mode. You're proactively managing. This consistent engagement dramatically reduces anxiety because the unknown shrinks. Financial fear often stems from not knowing how much is there, not knowing where it went, not knowing if you can cover that upcoming expense. The more you know, consistently and calmly, the less you fear. You replace panic with perspective and fear with empowered action. It's not about needing perfect knowledge or a complex spreadsheet system from day one. It's about building the habit of consistent awareness. Let's go back to that food tracking analogy. Tracking your food intake intensely for one single day might show you that day's snapshot. But tracking consistently, even if you miss a meal or estimate poorly sometimes, shows you patterns over time. It reveals habits you didn't even know you had. Similarly, just consistently checking your bank balance and glancing at the last day's transactions builds a picture of your financial health that empowers you to make small, sustainable changes over weeks and months. The surprising insight here? The single most powerful financial habit isn't complicated budgeting software or advanced investment strategies, though those have their place. It is simply, profoundly paying attention on a regular basis. It's the financial equivalent of just showing up. The reframe you need is, you don't need perfect knowledge or a complex system. You need consistent awareness and a willingness to take small, deliberate actions based on what you see. So, here's a practical action for you right now to bring the power of consistency into your earn flow zone. Try this for a week. Schedule a 5-minute money moment into your calendar or set a daily reminder on your phone for the next 7 days. When that reminder pops up, just stop for 5 minutes. Use this time to simply look at your main checking account balance and quickly review the last day's transactions. That's it. No complex analysis needed. The goal isn't to solve everything in 5 minutes. The goal is consistency. Build the habit of showing up for your money just for a few minutes every single day. See how quickly that small, consistent action starts to shift your perspective and reduce that background financial hum of anxiety. This mindset, the willingness to look, the commitment to track, the habit of directing, this isn't just about tallying numbers. It's the engine room of your financial life, the true launch pad for growth. Think about it. You can't build a solid house without first inspecting the ground and laying a proper foundation. Trying to budget without knowing where your money actually goes is like trying to follow a recipe when you don't know what ingredients are in your pantry. You're just guessing, hoping it turns out okay, which in finance rarely happens. This isn't about being perfect from day one. It's about cultivating the habit of engagement. People often underestimate the sheer power of consistent interaction with their money. They think facing their bank balance is just about feeling bad about debt or celebrating a small save. But that's only scratching the surface. This foundational mindset, this choice to actively participate, is what makes every single other financial goal achievable. Want to save for a down payment? You need to know what's coming in, what's going out, and how much is left over to allocate. Dreaming of investing? You can't put money to work if you don't know your cash flow situation or understand your financial stability well enough to gauge risk. Negotiating a salary or pricing your services? You'll undersell yourself if you haven't faced the numbers to understand your true financial needs and value. It's all connected. Avoidance just keeps you stuck playing defense, forever in survival mode, reacting to emergencies instead of strategically building. It's like trying to win a video game by hiding in the corner. Eventually, you have to engage with the challenge to progress. Here's the surprising truth many miss. Financial clarity doesn't just help you manage problems, it actively reveals and enables opportunities you didn't even know existed. It's the ultimate myth bust. We're taught to fear looking because it might show us problems. But what if it shows you pathways? Consider someone with a dream of starting a business or making a significant investment. For months, maybe years, that dream stays just that, a distant fantasy, because they're terrified to look at their current bank balance or calculate their real monthly expenses. That fear keeps the dream locked behind an invisible wall. But once they take that breath, face the numbers, and start tracking, they gain clarity. They suddenly see how much capital they do have, how much they need to save, or exactly where they can trim expenses to free up funds faster than they thought possible. The dream doesn't vanish. It starts transforming from a hazy wish into a concrete plan. Facing your financial reality isn't the painful endpoint. It's the essential launchpad for your financial ambitions. It moves you beyond the fog of avoidance into a space where you can plan, build, and create wealth with intention. This one habit, the habit of consistently engaging with your money, not avoiding it, truly changed everything for me. It shifted my focus from just surviving paycheck to paycheck to actively building towards something bigger. Try this. Think about one larger financial goal you have right now. Maybe buying a home, starting that side hustle, finally making a big investment, or funding an epic trip. Now, knowing you've taken steps towards facing your current financial reality, perhaps through tracking or simply looking closely at your accounts, how does that goal feel slightly more concrete or achievable than it did before? What's one specific piece of financial information about your current situation that you would need to make that goal feel even more real, even more within reach? Jot it down and go find that one piece of information. All right, we've reached the end of this journey together. And what a journey it's been! You started watching this video, maybe feeling that familiar knot in your stomach, the one that tightens when you think about your money, or specifically, when you think about not thinking about it. You were likely caught in the trap of avoidance, preferring the discomfort of not knowing to the perceived discomfort of actually looking. This avoidance wasn't just passive, it was costly. It kept you powerless, a passenger in your own financial life, based on the persistent myth that ignorance is somehow bliss when it comes to your bank balance. But something shifted, right? Simply by staying with this conversation, you've taken the crucial first step. You've begun the process of just looking, not judging, not panicking, just acknowledging what you see. And in that simple act, you started reclaiming your power. You realized you're not a victim of external circumstances. You are the pilot, capable of steering. You began to see money not as this terrifying, untouchable monster, but as energy, something that flows and can be directed. And you understood that the path to mastering this flow isn't about dramatic windfalls or perfect decisions overnight, but about small, consistent actions. These small actions build momentum, creating the powerful current that guides you into your earn flow zone. This foundational habit of looking and consciously acting is the key that unlocks all future financial progress, all future freedom. So here we are, at a choice point. What happens now if you close this video and simply retreat back into that old pattern of avoidance? Be honest with yourself. That knot in your stomach, it will return, likely stronger this time, because you just reinforced the habit of running away when things feel uncertain. The costs of ignorance won't magically disappear. They will continue to mount. Frustrating fees you didn't catch, missed opportunities for growth, the quiet erosion of stagnant accounts. You'll remain stuck, feeling powerless, perhaps watching friends or colleagues build the financial lives you desire, feeling like it's somehow out of reach for you. All because you couldn't sustain one simple, slightly uncomfortable habit, the habit of looking and taking a tiny, conscious step. The alternative? The path we've laid out? You continue the momentum. You schedule that 5-minute money moment. You make that small, conscious decision about where $5 or $50 or $500 goes. You build the habit of awareness, not as a chore, but as an act of self-care and empowerment. You transform anxiety into action, scarcity thinking into the beginnings of flow. This isn't about achieving financial nirvana tomorrow or never making a mistake again. You will have ups and downs. You will make missteps along the way. That's part of the journey. But you will no longer be operating blindfolded, hoping for the best while fearing the worst. You will be engaged. You will be learning. You will be directing your energy, your resources, and that makes all the difference in the world. The beauty of this is the required action is so simple, so manageable, it feels almost anticlimactic. Your final, clear, doable step today is this. Pick one specific time tomorrow to have your 5-minute money moment. Be precise. Maybe it's 7:15 a.m. while the coffee brews, 12:50 p.m. before you dive into lunch, or 9 p.m. after dinner when things quiet down. Whatever time slot works for your life, own it. Put it in your calendar, write it on a sticky note, and put it where you'll see it. Commit to showing up for yourself and your financial future, just for 5 minutes. That's it. The flow doesn't start when you hit some magical income number. The flow begins the moment you choose to truly see and choose to act. Take that step tomorrow. Your future self is already thanking you. In the end, your bank account will catch up to your mindset, not the other way around.